You're entering Corsi Nation.
This is Jerome Corsi, and today it is Monday. It's August 11th, 2025. Thank you for joining us here on CorsiNation.com. We're doing podcasts every weekday, and you can find me on X at Corsi Jerome 1, the number 1, Corsi Jerome 1. Substack Jerome Corsi PhD.substack.com. Jerome Corsi PhD.substack.com. Visit our website, CorsiNation.com, and our foundation, Gods5Stones.com. That's Gods, no apostrophe. Spell out the word five, F-I-V-E, and stones is plural, S-T-O-N-E-S, Gods5Stones.com. We're going into cover much more on ActBlue. So we've expanded from simply covering the election. We revised the website. We're going to be prosecuting. We're going to have more on spiritual nature, but of the battle we're fighting. But we're going to continue with stopping the steal of the elections. But we're actually going to start focusing much more on ActBlue. And I'm going to be doing some interviews, and we're revamping the website, as you can see, a new website with a whole new look to it, and much more in depth of different kinds of investigations that we're doing. Okay, let's go into the news today. I want to start out with JD Vance and his statement. I guess he was doing interviews, and in his interviews, he was saying that there's going to be a lot more prosecutions for what has gone on in this Russia hoax. And this, he was speaking with Maria Bartiromo on Sunday morning's Future, and Vice President Vance said accountability for the Russian collusion hoax is coming. Okay, that's important, because what you have is there was a secret meeting that was held with Obama and other of his top aides, in which they decided early on, Clapper was involved, Comey was involved, Brennan was involved. They decided they were going to say that there was Russian collusion. Russia had stolen the Democratic Party emails. They knew Russia had not done it. They got CrowdStrike, which was a democratically leaning cybersecurity firm, to say that it was the Russians who hacked it, the emails, and gave them to Assange. So you're going to see a lot of indictments coming, is what JD Vance is saying. Vance said, I absolutely want to see indictments, Maria. Look, of course, you've got to have the law follow the facts here. You just don't indict people to indict people. You indict people because they broke the law. But he continued, he said, if you look at what Tulsi and Kash Patel have revealed in the last couple of weeks, I don't know how anybody can look at that and say there wasn't aggressive violations of the law. Okay, here's the thing that should really bother the American people, he said. What do you want our intelligence community to be doing? I want them to be catching bad guys. I want to be making sure that terrorists aren't going to kill innocent American civilians. I don't want them laundering Hillary Clinton's campaign talking points into the American media and giving them this air of legitimacy. It's sick and it's disgusting. Okay, that's very important, because what we're seeing is that the lying that went on is massive. And we're going to get much more information on this as we begin revealing how, in fact, this whole Russian collusion hoax happened. You already see, by the way, Adam Schiff is under criminal indictment or under criminal investigation. There should be an indictment, and Letitia James for this mortgage fraud. Well, the mortgage fraud is going to, and Ed Martin is going to be the special prosecutor there. That was decided last week. Ed Martin and I have known each other for probably 20 years. Ed Martin has headed Eagle Forum after Phyllis Schlafly. He was a top aide for Phyllis Schlafly. I've known him for a long time and supported him for a long time. He's a great guy, and he'll do the job. He will go after this. He already has been briefed on ActBlue. He knows it's coming. And this mortgage fraud is just the tip of the iceberg, because that's the core issue in ActBlue. And I've written up an article over the weekend. I'm going to be submitting it for publication today. So I think we're going to get some action out of this pretty quickly. Okay, as we go through the revelations that have been occurring, and what you're going to start seeing is a series of meetings, like, for instance, the December 8th, the Obama, December 8th, this goes back into 2015. The intelligence community pulled off a product that would contradict the Russian hoax narrative, because they were saying Russia did not get involved in the election. And so that December 8th, 2016, after the election, well, Obama didn't carry out a secret meeting. And December 9th, he ordered a new assessment to claim that the election was hacked. Okay, so Brennan ignored and suppressed intelligence that undermined that narrative. The IC officials disregarded behavior that undermined the idea that Putin wanted to help Trump. And the intelligence community assessment was subject to the usual directives from the president, who told them that the Steele dossier was a factor that had to be taken into consideration in forming the intelligence community assessment that Russia stole the elections. I faced the Mueller people and, the prosecutors. I was called before the Mueller grand jury. And I can tell you, they didn't want to hear anything. They said, Dr. Corsi, we're not interested in your theories about who stole the Democratic National Committee's emails. I said, well, you ought to be, because I'm right and you're wrong. Seth Rich is the one who stole them. And so, therefore, that should have been revealed to the American people at the time. We still don't have Seth Rich's computers. They're still hiding it, and, this is just disgraceful. We can't have a country that is run like this. And so, as you see the weaponized assessment that Putin developed a clear preference for Trump, it's exactly the opposite of the truth. Putin wanted Hillary, and because he had the intelligence on Hillary that she was taking massive amounts of tranquilizers, she had this neurological problem that caused her to have epileptic kind of blackouts, and that she was drinking heavily. Okay. Hillary is a mess. She's a lousy candidate. That's what came out of the Podesta email. She's lazy, nasty, bipolar, screaming, yelling at her staff. A wretched person, and in fact, unliked. So the real assessment that is now clear was fabricated by Obama. Well, this is an act of treason. And I'm going to develop in the next little bit of time that Obama was a Russian asset working with Putin. So was Brennan, so was Clapper. I'm going to develop the information in all three and produce evidence on this and lay it out in front of the American people. All three of them were working together for Putin. So if Brennan thinks he's just going to get charged with lying to Congress, or Clapper thinks that's all he's going to get charged with, they're wrong. This is a treason case. And the treason case is going to be pursued. Okay, what's coming out on ActBlue is also going to be equally, and I'm in the middle of both of these investigations, and I'm going to stay strongly in the middle of them. I'm strongly encouraging you to contribute to God's Five Stones. We need the help. We need to be able to get the money to be able to continue doing this through the remainder of this year and into next year, because we're going to see justice. And without being funded, we're not going to see justice. We're just going to, I don't want to be dead in the water when this massive thing is about to happen. Okay, so as we look at what was going on, we can see that the ActBlue was a matter of the almost insurmountably horrible evil here, because what happened is that the border was open, and we've had Mike McCormick on the show. He's written 2 books I'm going to show you in a minute. Okay, and what happened was that I'm going to read you a quote from Sean Taylor, who is the whistleblower here. Sean said, "What we've been able to determine through the arrest of a person in Tennessee involved in the illegal narcotics trade is that thousands of abandoned children with no parents and the flow of cocaine and fentanyl coming over the border with Mexico increased substantially after the Obama administration established the Alliance of Prosperity with Honduras. Okay, that was in 2014. I'm sorry, in 2014. Okay, now the alliance that we sent millions of dollars to Honduras. And what Honduras did was they opened the border to child sex trade, organ trade as well. They opened the border to cocaine coming in from the Sinaloa drug cartel and fentanyl from China. So Sean said it appears that the illicit funds generated from all these activities, including the child trafficking, were being dumped into specific banks both in the U.S. and outside the U.S., where the banks were complicit in the money laundering crime. We further determined that the actors and non-governmental organizations affiliated with ActBlue were drawing the illicit money out of banks through mortgage loan fraud. Okay, that's a very, very strong statement. Okay, so the ActBlue investigation is accelerating, and the disclosures are accelerating. Okay, so as we pursue this, we're going to see a very dark picture here, where the Obama administration sent Biden, and they began working with the Honduran president Lobo Sosa in Honduras as early as 2011, and these meetings were designed to create a situation where we knew that Sosa was a drug dealer. We knew he was, in fact, deeply involved in drugs. Okay, so in 2021, through all this period of time, we go back to we go back to understanding that what was going on there was criminal. Okay, so the first meetings here that were held with Honduras were meetings that were with criminals, with Sinaloa drug cartel criminals. And the whole purpose was to open the border because the Democratic Party needed money, and they decided the best way to get it was through child sex trade. The best way to get it was through cocaine importation, okay, and through fentanyl from China. And the Vatican was involved with Pope Francis and Archbishop McCarrick working with the Biden administration through McDonough, who was the Catholic chief of staff for Obama at the time. And Mike McCormick has been on repeated programs with us, giving this information out. He was the chief official stenographer for Joe Biden's White House stenographer for 6 years. And he understood these issues because he experienced them. He put it together. These are huge revelations. Chris, I want you to come on. Let's talk about both of these, because what we're finding now is the evil that was at the heart of the Obama administration. It's finally getting disclosed. So, Chris, come on. I want to have a dialogue about this. I think we've been leading these investigations, and we're now leading the disclosures. And I think it's going to be shocking to the American people.
It's going to be shocking for a lot of reasons, especially those on the left and in the middle. In the middle, they were kind of again, the Democrats had a talent for putting a nice, I guess, a nice veneer on the things they were doing. They take a pretty package like a Barack Obama or somebody to the Beto O'Rourke's another one of them, and try to convey this evil message they have through somebody who seemed pleasant, friendly, and not intimidating. And this attracts people on the left. They start worshiping people like this because, in the absence of God, they worship a celebrity or worship a human, worship the state, if you will, and fall into it. They don't realize what's going on behind the scenes. Then, when it comes out, they're shocked. We're in the denial stage right now. They're in that denial stage. After a while, when the facts come out, they're going to have to settle themselves, and they're going to have to realize that, hey, we voted for the wrong guys, and they were the ones kind of. I'm not a big fan of politicians on either side, but these guys were masking kindness and um, uh, kindness and a virtue over their
Yeah,
intentions.
all the Obama people acted
Right.
as if they had the high moral ground.
Right.
Okay, the communists always think that they're going to be helping the undertrodden and the poor. Meanwhile, they're selling children into sex trades. They're doing organ harvesting of children.
Exactly.
I mean, these are horrendous crimes, and they're doing it to fund ActBlue and to fund Black Lives Matter. I
And that's
mean,
the other thing. You're seeing the fact that these Democrats are losing money. They're depending on some PACs right now, but the fact is the money laundering scheme is over with USAID. ActBlue is going to be dismantled, and it's going to be exposed how corrupt or the money laundering
well,
around the
there's
country.
going to be criminal prosecutions coming out
Right.
of this
Well, let's
information.
hope so. Let's hope
No,
so.
no, no. There's going to be. I mean, I'm confident of it. I've already contacted the Justice Department. We're going into full scale disclosure here, and we're not going to we're going to pull out all the stops to make this information apparent to the American people. Okay, so I think we're seeing a new day here and a new opportunity to have a situation develop in which we're going to root out this evil and prosecute this evil. And people like Comey and Brennan and Clapper, who think they were above everything, are going to find out that they weren't so important after all. Okay, Chris, let's go to a couple more stories here before we run out of time. We're going to see, and this Friday, I believe it's going to be, that we're going to have a summit meeting between Trump and Putin in Alaska. Now, Zelensky, of course, who continues to want to keep the war going. Of course, he wants to keep the war going. Little SOB criminal actor who thinks he's president, even though he canceled the last election, just wants to keep the money flowing so he can have his cronies and his paid off and all the rest. We don't need a world war between the United States and Russia. And I think Trump and Putin both realize that. Okay, so now if we take a look at how various things have been developing, I think you can see that the European Commission and this President Ursula von der Leyen are understanding, as well as UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer. They traveled to Trump's private resort in Turnberry in this recent meeting in Scotland to be seen with the American president, of course, without any military fanfare. We're going to send long-range missiles to Zelensky. We're going to send all this money to Zelensky. Zelensky just canceled the Ukrainian corruption investigation into his own money laundering and his own stealing of government money, and sending it to the oligarchs who support him. So all of this is, I think, essentially a change to realize that the European Union no longer plays any role in the great powers. European Union is now, and the UK have self-destructed with Muslim immigration and with the green energy hoax. These countries are bankrupt. They're politically a mess. They can't control their own people. They won't stop Muslim rape gangs. They won't even allow you to talk about Muslim rape gangs. And the people of Europe are going to be terrorized and reduced to poverty. There's going to be a crash coming in the fall when these European Union countries can no longer pay their bills. So there's an article on right now on Zero Hedge, and it's submitted by Thomas Colby. Okay, but it's a very, very good article. Thomas Colby is a German graduate economist who's worked as a journalist and media producer for clients from various industries and business associations. As a publicist, he focuses on economic processes and observes geopolitical events from the perspective of the capital markets. Okay, and he focuses on the rights of the individual and the right to self-determination. Now, what he's saying is, I think, correct, that the White House is Donald Trump is now the figure on the global scene around the world. Donald Trump's influence is as strong as any president I've seen in my lifetime, maybe stronger, that he's dominating the political scene. Okay, so UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who was now gone, long gone, was the one who scuttled the original Ukrainian deal with Russia. We would not have had this war. But again, it's going to take the Europeans and Zelensky to understand that Putin has taken this land. He's taken the 2 eastern provinces in Ukraine, and he's not giving them back. Take a nuclear war to dislodge Putin. Okay, so Zelensky can say all he wants. We're not giving up any Ukrainian land to Russia, but he's a damn fool. He can't stop it. And the United States with Victoria Nuland and all the other jerkheads from the State Department who caused this trouble, and with Hillary Clinton and her email server, all this is going to come out now. How we caused this war with the Obama administration trying to push Ukraine into NATO. Now, Trump is going to have his hands full with this message because the deal is controlling Zelensky, and they do better not even to have Zelensky at the meeting. In other words, let Russia and the United States solve the war and tell Zelensky to go to hell. That's the only solution. If Zelensky doesn't like it, cut off his funding. What's the little son of a bitch going to do without his money? Nothing. Okay, so cut off his money, end the war, and we'll get moving to create an economy that's a global economy that's productive. Trump is back saying that it's okay if Netanyahu cleans out Gaza and takes control of it. We're not putting Hamas. If the Palestinians return to Gaza, Hamas comes back to Gaza, and it's not going to happen. Trump isn't going to allow it, and Netanyahu isn't going to allow it. We've broken the back of Iran, and Iran better realize that they're not going to be helped any longer by Russia. What the Obama people are trying to set up, and again, Obama working as a Russian agent, was that we would spend ourselves into bankruptcy, which we're damn close to doing at $37 trillion in national debt. And it's going to continue to get worse until it gets better, because Trump had to spend more to keep the United States from going into bankruptcy. And we did that with this big bill that was passed. And we'll probably do a couple more finance bills before Trump is done. But Trump is taking a hold of the bureaucracy, firing the anti-Trumpers, firing the communists, firing the socialists, firing the nihilists, and firing the Satanists. Get them all out of government. If we reduce the size of government by 90%, we'd be doing a good thing. And I continue to suggest to Trump the best solution is move the entire federal bureaucracy to the Mojave Desert or Death Valley and give them all the wind and solar they want in Quonset huts they can live in. It's the only way to get rid of the bureaucracy is to move it. Then they'll quit. Otherwise, they've got their selective service or whatever they've got and protect themselves, civil service and the SES special protection. That can all go to hell. Bureaucracy is the main problem we've got in the United States. They make rules and regulations. They help to create this climate hoax nonsense. And it's time that we see that the Europe is reduced to its status as a third world country. They can have all their fine restaurants and all their fine hotels and all their fine tourism, and let the Muslims burn down the churches. That's just, the anti-Christianity that's pervading through Europe. The anti-Semitism is making Europe a failed European Union. And I can't wait to the day when the European Union dissolves like the Soviet Union broke up. Another globalist institution which is going to go to the way of the trash can. There are other stories out on the, by the way, the economics. You've got to understand that gold and silver are not going to come down in price, not significantly. Gold today is still trading above $3,300, $3,361. Silver at $37.83. Now, you can see on the Corsi Nation website the gold tab at the top, and if you pull that down, Swiss America. I'm going to tell you the number where you can get the book I've written about this with Dean Heskin, which is how the coming global crash, economic crash, is going to cause an historic gold rush. It's happening. We're going to get the number up here and put the book up on the screen for you in a minute. If you look at the Swiss America tab, you're going to see what you can do is get from Swiss America, one-time offer for new customers. You can buy up to 250 of these Walking Liberty half dollars. And these Walking Liberty half dollars are being sold at a price that is really what their value is today in silver. They're about 99.99% silver. And Chris, if we put up the book and the 800 number, I'll read it off. But again, you've got to call Swiss America. You've got to get involved with this. You don't have to have a lot of money to buy. Gold is expensive, but you can buy silver. Okay, the 1-800 number is 800-519-6268. Write it down. Swiss America, 1-800-519-6268. I'm telling you, you're going to see a crash in Europe, economic crash. It's coming, and you need to get a hold of it. Chris is showing you now on the homepage where the gold tab is. You can scroll down, and you can see that, in fact, this Walking Liberty half dollar is available, this offer. There we go. There's the half dollars are right there. You can see the Walking Liberty half dollar offer. It's a great offer. You have to fill out that form, and you can get contacted by Swiss America and become a customer. Start learning how you can invest in gold and silver. You can do a few dollars every month, especially with silver, under $38 an ounce. That you can get some silver, which will appreciate in value, and because it's less of a total price, $37 versus now $3,300 an ounce. That, by the way, gold going to $4,000 an ounce pretty soon. Get some gold and silver. Take your self-directed IRAs if you've got them and move them into gold and silver, at least some. Swiss America will create for you a self-directed IRA, which will be held at a you can put it into a reserve account in a depository in Delaware, which Swiss America will set up for you. Lloyd's of London insurance guarantee that the gold and silver are really there. And then if you do it right, you can claim income tax exemption on the appreciation of the gold and silver that you hold in that account, which makes the earnings on the gold and silver even more valuable because you're not paying taxes on it while it accumulates. Only when you withdraw it will you pay taxes, income tax. And by that time, the IRS may be gone. Donald Trump does what he's talking about doing. Tariffs are working. We're readjusting the international economy. It's going to take a little bit of time, but it's happening. Okay, I'll cover one or two more stories quickly before we wrap up. What you're seeing also around the world is that the green market is collapsing. Okay, so this company, the Swedish company Ørsted, which is designed to make wind farm constructions, that's its core business, it canceled more projects than any of its industry peers, and it's now trading at under its 2016 IPO, initial public offering price, after the company announced the largest share offering in the European section since NLSPA in 2009. The shares have now plunged 29% from their initial offering. They're trying to raise more capital to shore up their finances because basically they're bankrupt. And I think this is going to happen to all these. The entire, back to Obama, the entire green energy was all nonsense, another lie. Scientists knew it was a lie. And again, everybody fell for it. Not everybody, but I mean, the politicians sure did. Obama was and Biden were going to demand electric cars be the norm. Electric cars burn up. You know, they spent billions of dollars and they created under 1,000, I believe, charging stations. You know, so they're a boondoggle. Technology isn't there. It doesn't work. So it's like wind and solar. You can't power a city with wind and solar. We knew this from the very beginning. If we had a solar battery the size of a flashlight battery that could power a city, we'd all be using them. The technology doesn't work. And by the way, the planet is not burning up because we're burning hydrocarbon fuel. It's ridiculous. Okay, so we're moving here into, I think, a different era. And what I want to emphasize as we kind of wrap up today is that Trump is winning. It'll take a little bit of time to get the Department of Justice and these other departments in order, but we're going to see the education department shut down. It shut down the whole federal government as far as I'm concerned. We wouldn't miss it. And the point is that Trump is taking steps that are going to right the ship. It's probably going to take him 4 years to get it done. But at the end of 4 years, with the help of God, we're going to have a very different world because we're going to bring God back into the world and we're going to start winning again. This is Dr. Jerome Corsi. Today, it's Monday. It's August 11th, 2025. In the end, God always wins. I'm constantly saying God's going to win this battle, provided that we join in spirit of 2 Chronicles 7:14 and get on our knees and ask God to forgive us for letting this much corruption be endemic in the United States. The idea that the Democratic Party funded itself and ActBlue with child sex trade and with child organ harvesting is horrific beyond belief. That's why we published Silicon Satan. I encourage you to read it. We're going to begin featuring it as well on God's 5 Stones. This is Dr. Jerome Corsi. Thank you for joining us. CorsiNation.com. We'll be back tomorrow. God bless.